Alright guys and girls, here is the Big Daddy. Here is the toughest thing probably all season long, and there's just not really a great easy way to conquer this one other than just kind of follow the steps, get used to the process, and hope that you can get it down. So we're going back to the same steps from 9.5 where we were factoring trinomials. This time we have a coefficient that's different than 1. All of them in 9.5 only had one option for their front term going into the binomial when we split the parentheses. So on this one we list the factors, and we have 1 times 2 to make 2 and a times a to make a squared. Then we'll list the factors of the one in the back. That's going to be 1 times 15, and I'm going to write that one again because it's a negative 15, and you'll know why I did that here in just a little bit. The other way to make that would be 3 times 5 or 3 times 5, and I'll explain why I put both those down there. Basically, the reason that I'm putting two of them is because of this negative sign. Because that negative sign, you have to multiply a negative with a positive, and so we have to understand and account for the fact that these are how our options are going to be seen. Those are the ways in which you multiply to make that number happen, and those are our only possibilities to make that trinomial. So we're going to go ahead and pair up the numbers in the front with the letters that are also there. So 2 is going to pair with A, 1 is going to pair with A, and that's going to be the start to the term. So when I make my parentheses, 2A times 1A is what would multiply to make the 2A squared. And then we'll also have to go and put in these pairings to determine which ones are right. Now this is where it gets difficult. We have to try options that are there. There's 4 total possibilities for what can go in this spot here. Negative 1 and positive 15 could go in, positive 1, negative 15 could go in, negative 3 and positive 5, and positive 3 and negative 5. That's the only ways to multiply to make our last term happen. So those are our only options. The one we're looking for is the one that adds to make positive 7. Alright, now I will say that we need to assume, because we're making a positive number, that the positive number we choose is going to go in this section here, because we have to make this the bigger number in order to add and make it positive. So what we need to do is we need to pair the biggest options first. So since the 2 is here, our biggest number must go in this space right here. Right now that biggest number is 15. So if I tried positive 15 to go here, we would take 2 times 15, that would be 30. Are we anywhere near 7? No, we're not. So that tells us right away that that's most likely not going to work, and we can assume that that's not our correct answer. No need to multiply through anything else if we're already 23 spaces away. So then we'll go to our next big number, which is 5. And notice we said to stay with the positives going here because we're adding to make the positive. So if I put 5 right here, 2 times 5 is 10, and notice that the number pairing with 10 is 3, and notice that 7 is 3 spaces away from 10. Therefore, the minus 3 must go there. Okay? So right now, this is looking like our answer for the trinomial here that we're trying to factor. Just to check that, we use FOIL. 2a times 1a, 2a squared. 2a times 5 plus 10a. Negative 3 times 1a, negative 3a. And then negative 3 times 5, negative 15. When we combine our middle terms, since they are alike, they become positive 7a, which is what we were after the whole time. Okay? So let me talk you through a more difficult one. Let's jump down to number I suppose the toughest one that we're looking at here is going to be number 6. So let's look at number 6. How do I make 5d squared? That would be 1 times 5 times d times d. And notice this time the signs are a little different. Up here we had a positive negative, now we have a negative negative. So that's going to give us something different to look at. How about our factors of 8? We're going to do 1 times 8. And once again, since it's a negative, we need to list that again because we're considering a negative times a positive or a positive times a negative. There's also 2 times 4 or positive 2 times negative 4. And that's the only way in which we can make negative 8 happen. Now we need to get all the way to negative 18. And following our steps, we know we need to try the options with the biggest factors first. So I'm going to put my biggest number from this pairing in the front of the parentheses just like I did before, and I kind of do that out of habit. That way I'm always multiplying the biggest number first. So 5d goes up front, and that's going to put the 1d in the back. That way when I multiply them, I know they equal 5d squared. Now we need to determine the last factor. So we need all these possibilities. Since we're now adding to make a negative, we're going to assume that the negative number has to go here because that would multiply to make the bigger of the negatives. So if I put negative 8 in here, 5 times 8 is negative 40, and that's definitely not going to get me anywhere near the 18 that I need, so I know that that's wrong. 8 did not work. After the 8, I go to the 4. Since we're trying the negative numbers here, it would be negative 4. And 5 times negative 4 is going to be negative 20. Now, if I'm at negative 20, how far is that away from negative 18? That's 2 spaces, so the plus 2, since that pairs with the negative 4, is definitely what goes in there. And this is our answer. You could FOIL to check if you wanted to check, but that is the proper answer. Alright, now let's go to the toughest one on the entire page, number 9. Number 9 is tough only because it has so many options. We could multiply 1w and 12w to make 12w squared, or 2w times 6w, or we could do 3w times 4w. Now we're very fortunate that that's not a negative, because if that were a negative we'd have to consider both options of both. But back here we do have that negative number. We've actually listed this one already. It's over here. Let's list those same options just so we have all the possibilities for making negative 15 happen. So we're going to get all 4 possibilities down, and we're going to pair the biggest factors once we get through this. And it's just a time-consuming process for us. Our second step is make the parentheses. And now here we get into the real pickle. I don't know which one to choose. Before I had only one option to go up front and only one option to go up front. Now I'm absolutely clueless because I got 3 options to go up front here, and I got 4 options to go in back here. So that's going to cause some conflicts, but we're just going to pair the biggest one and see what happens. So watch me pair the biggest ones up, and then I'll see what happens. The first biggest number is the 12w. And so I'm going to try what would happen if 12w were here. And if that's in that position, the biggest number is going to go right back here for the multiplying and checking to make the positive 8 when we add. So we're going to pair 12 and 15 first, because we have to add to make positive 8. And if the 15 goes here, 12 times 15 is, I believe, 180, which is nowhere near 8. So there's no way we're going to get back to the answer we need by adding. And that's just not going to be an option. It's not going to work. After the 15, we go to the 5. So let's try the 5 going in there. What is 12 times 5? Well, that's 60. And so 12 times 5 being 60w, no way that's going to get back to 8. I know this is not the option that's going to work. So then I'll go to my next lowest number, which is the positive 3. And when I try the positive 3 here, 12 times 3 is 36, still nowhere near 8. Not going to do it, not going to work. So then I'll go to the next one, which is going to be 1. Now 12 times 1 is really close to 8. In fact, how far off is it? It's 4 spaces. From 12 to 8 is 4 spaces. But notice if we choose the positive 1, then it pairs with negative 15, so that's going to move us 15 spaces. That's going to be no good for us. We know that that cannot work, therefore the 12 is not an option to go here. Not an option whatsoever for our problem. Now we're just going to go to the next biggest number. So, after the 12W, the next biggest number is the 6W. That will go up front, and in the back, we're going to start with the 15 again. 6 times 15, that's still way too big. I believe that's 90 or 75, somewhere in there. It's late, not thinking straight, but it's way too high compared to 8. So that's not going to work. Then we'll try the positive 5. 6 times 5 is 30, still way far away from 8. But then let's go to our positive 3. And if positive 3 goes here, that'd be 18. Now I'm pretty close. In fact, I'm 10 away. And if the 6W is going up front, then the one that pairs with that is the 2W. And so that's going to multiply with the number that's going to go here, which would be the negative 5 if we chose positive 3 there. So now if I took 6W with 3, that'd be 18. Minus 5 times 2, that'd be minus 10. This is going to be the proper pairing that I need to multiply to make the last term and add to make the middle. Sorry I rushed through that, but we're running short on time. Thanks for listening. There's 9-6.